Sorry for the delay, but even without me doing vids, that Magi greatness never stops. Like, this is the only manga out there where I'll say, oh my fucking god, you ain't gonna get this. Like, Magi isn't a typical manga or typical series at all, for that matter. It's not like you look at Magi and like, okay, well, I could go to this for comedy, or I could go to this for dark stuff, or I could go to this for adventure. You don't know what the fuck you're getting out of Magi, and that's something that I love. Like, you're not gonna find what you found in these 2 chapters in any manga whatsoever. Just a lot of it was just like, oh my fucking god. Half the time I'm like, what the fuck is going on? But in a good way. That Magi greatness time, people. So picking up from where I last left off with my reviews with chapter 231, for the most part, you see a lot of people is broken from what happened. You see a lot of the people are just like discouraged and disgusted. And one of the people that I felt bad for the most out of everyone in that chapter was Ugo. I felt so bad seeing him cower up, saying, it's all my fault. Everyone's blaming me. It was my fault. And I was just thinking to myself, like, dog, you tried your best. Everyone fucks up. And between these 2 chapters, I just feel so fucking bad for these characters. And when I get to 232, I'll talk a little bit more about how bad I felt for a lot of these characters, because there was a particular moment where I just felt over the top bad. But this chapter definitely, you just seeing the aftermath of everyone just being disgusted and angry, and the salt that was left on all these people when David finally left. He did damage regardless of what. He left people fucked up. But this chapter gives a little bit more. And again, it's just that Otaka loves to be very vague with what she does with these characters and leave them very vague. And it's like, David seemed fucked up, but he also seemed like there was more to him. And this chapter definitely led on that there was definitely more to him. Leaving the staff behind is almost as if he left a mission behind for Solomon and them to unravel, so to speak, or to do something that he couldn't do, and he's leaving it behind for his son. Like, you know what? I couldn't do this. At least let you do this. And when they were going through that little warp thingy, I don't know what the hell you would call it, but, the staff and everything, I feel as though this chapter was definitely the first really, 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 really large, almost confirmations as to who's Gyouken. Because when Arba was crying for God, first of all, I really want an explanation as to why is she so worshipping of God, because she was basically created by David, and that's really like the extent of what we know about her. She's dark and whatnot, but what is this obsession that she has with God? Because at this point, especially after 232, I'm almost sure of it that this is Gyouken. Arba is indeed Gyouken, and God is what turned her into this, or not God himself, but her love and obsession with God, and what Solomon does in these 2 chapters that makes her just go full batshit crazy. Because up until this point, she was like, Solomon, lead the way. Anything you do, I'm down for it. I'm following you, until it comes to God. And it's like, what is it so innately within her that makes her this obsessed with God that as soon as she sees him, she's crying and she's like, David was taking the Manga from him. God, how could he do this? So you can see she has this major obsession with God, and this is probably the most unique fucking thing I've ever seen of somebody's reason for wanting to attack, is that they actually seen God and they don't want you to touch God. It's so fucking strange. It's like, what, does she want to fuck God or something? Just imagine that's actually her motive right now. Take a second to think. Arba being Gyouken, and the reason why she wants to destroy the world is because she wants to fuck God. I went dark there, but Shinobu Otaka don't pull no punches, so who knows what the fuck her obsession with God could be. And just overall, I felt as though this chapter was definitely slowly leading into what 232 is, and that's where I feel as though a lot of these people that will ultimately become Alpha Almond members, this is where it starts. This is where you see them all look like they've fallen completely into depravity, especially Wahid and Phelan. They're just completely destroyed from what happened to their son. Ethnon lost his brother, so he's completely fallen. So definitely 231, very solid chapter. But 232, I will tell you right now, with 232, I've cried very few times to manga. Anime, it gets me all the time because it's just emotion. It's a very different experience. But with manga, it's a different experience, and it's rare that you'll even get me teary-eyed. It's like I could name on one hand how many times I probably, shed tears to manga. It was like One Piece, I think like a Naruto chapter, and it's a rarity, like I said, that I've shed tears while reading a manga chapter. But there was something about it, and maybe it's because of my overly love and passion for the series Magi, but the Sheba scene. When Solomon left Sheba, I'm not going to lie, when she went there, and I know I'm jumping ahead into the chapter of 232 because that's where we're at right now, but when she went to hug him, and he went right through her, and she was like, I don't want you to be God, I just want you to stay next to me. That fucking scene, and that's manga, and it got me to the point where my eyes started watering. I was like, fuck, I feel so bad for her. Like, just take a second to think. All she wants is a simplistic thing. Just be with me, please. I love you. Be with me. And he has to leave because he has a greater calling. And it's just fucking, it was so emotional. And they better animate this. They better fucking animate Magi for a season 3 because this was just like, you're not going to get any of this anywhere. Anywhere you're not going to get shit like this. And this chapter, 232, a lot better than 231. And overall, it was just a great fucking chapter. We find one of the major things out about the world and about God and what it seems to be its true agenda is. It's basically destiny. God, in a sense, is destiny in one. And it's like, I feel like my mind is being fucked just talking about this because it just seems so fucking complex. But a big part of what I think David's true mission was, he wants to change destiny. I think seeing his own destiny and seeing it play out right in front of his eyes, everything that he's seen happen slowly but surely really disgusted him. And he was like, I see my destiny written out. Maybe my son and his friends can change that. Maybe they can do something differently. And that's why he left it behind to Solomon, because he felt so trapped and so confined to his destiny that there was nothing he could do to change it. He'll leave it to his son to change it and do something different. And I was just like, man, to find out that everything, a small laugh, hurting yourself, anything that happens is all a part of pushing forward destiny and what's to happen to you later or something like that. Shit like that just like blew my fucking mind. That's the true fucking nature of God. And basically that there's no free will. Definitely some of this stuff kind of reminds me of like the whole destiny situation in Naruto, like destiny versus forging your own path. But in this one, it's almost like there's no fucking forging your own path. And I just felt for Ethnon in this chapter as well. Like, you can see this is what's truly going to push him in. Not only is he in despair after losing his brother, and then, you know, Wahid and Phelan as well just lost their son, but he's there basically like agonizing over this. I'm in fucking prison, basically. Life is prison. Destiny is one giant fucking cell. And if that's not enough to push a man to say, fuck God, then nothing will. Because he's basically there saying like, if God is just destiny and it's an entanglement and basically there was no way around saving my brother, God wanted my brother to die because I was part of the great flow, then fuck that shit. I'm going to rebel against it. They know that God exists, but they're basically like, fuck God. Like, I don't know. They're not devil worshippers. So I don't know what the fuck you'd call them, but in a sense, he's basically like going to go full forward. Like, oh, this is disgusting, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him in a bit. When you see that there's nothing you could have done to change your brother's death or anybody for that matter, and you're just trapped in this hell called destiny, that's enough to fuck any man's mind up. And this is pushing Arba even forward to becoming Gyouken as well. Like, this chapter left me a little bit mindfucked. That's one of the reasons why I won't say it's perfect. It definitely left me like, what the fuck happened to Solomon at the end? But when she was like, this is the one thing I can't accept, Solomon. This is the one thing. She even tried to pull the card of, you're being like David, because she knows that's one thing that will fuck him over. And he's like, no, I'm not being like David. I'm trying to change the world. And if that means I gotta kill God or become God, then fuck it, I'll do it. And that's even a worse thing because he's giving up. Don't forget, people, Sheba's pregnant. And he's giving up this happy life, you know, being with his friends, being with his comrades, being human for that matter, seemingly, to get rid of this thing called destiny and take control of the great flow and give it to everyone in this world so they can carve out their own destiny. But then again, that might be the first big mistake because maybe the great flow never had any of these tragedies within it. And ultimately, that mind fucks you right there as well. So should he have just left everyone in this prison called destiny? Or should he have given everyone the ability to carve their own destiny? In a sense, what he's doing right now could very well be even worse than what destiny was. Maybe he is carving out what could be Al-Thaman. But we find out in this chapter as well, which is just huge revelations, one of the goals that Aladdin has, his main goal as of right now, is he wants to be able to turn Black Rook into White Rook. And the secret to it, seemingly in this chapter, is you got to basically become the will of the Black Rook and turn it into White Rook. But ultimately, it seems as though you're sacrificing yourself. And I'd imagine in order for Aladdin to completely eradicate all the Black Rook, because he can't just keep on going and getting portions. He can only, sacrifice himself once probably. He's going to have to get all the Black Rook in the world in one space and basically go into it and change it all and change it completely back using his will. So maybe in the end of the series, Aladdin might have to sacrifice himself for the better of the world, and that would be so tragic. Don't do this shit over, please. And again, going back to that scene with Sheba, beautifully done, beautifully fucking done. It's so fucking sad, her there begging, please don't leave me, and seemingly the White Rook of him going away. But that confused the fuck out of me. I was a little bit puzzled as to what the fuck happened, because we see the young Solomon going inside the Rook, and he becomes like the White Rook. You see himself going away, but you still see an old Solomon standing there. So is it that he aged greatly because he had to get rid of that Rook? Or what the fuck happened? Is that really still Solomon? Or did he switch places? Like he took over God and God took over his body? Like what the fuck is that about? Because if that's the case, wouldn't she still be happy if she saw him smiling and everybody was looking at him like, King Solomon, like what happened? So I'm curious, is that even Solomon at this point? A lot of questions got me wondering what the fuck just happened. Did he give up a lot of his power and now he's weak? Maybe he's just that of a regular magician at this point. He doesn't have the power that he previously wielded. A lot of questions just had me like, what the fuck at the end of this chapter? Just overall, completely showing just what would lead somebody to do that. What would lead somebody to want to summon God, love God, and try to destroy everyone that they love. They love God. Remind me to keep the Westboro Baptist Church away from me, please. And one last thing. I think that this is definitely the birth of Solomon's wisdom. While David had somewhat what seemingly is Solomon's wisdom, at the end of the day, if his Rook became one with the flow, then ultimately he'll know everything, destiny. So this is probably the birth of the true Solomon's wisdom, and how he gave it to Aladdin is maybe he figured out a way not to sacrifice himself, but still ultimately see the great flow, and that's how Aladdin saw it back in the, I believe it was the Balbat arc. Overall, phenomenal chapter for the second one. Like, that was a great fucking chapter. 231, it was a very good chapter. 232, great fucking chapter. Left me with a lot of questions, though, so it's not a perfect chapter. I'm going to give that one 9 out of 10. It just really had me, especially some of the emotional parts, like Shinobu Otaka's doing this so well. Sometimes I forget, holy shit, we're not even with the main characters right now, and I'm loving all these characters. So if you can bring in a whole new cast for the time being and make me care about them to the point where I'm about to shed a tear, you're fucking brilliant. Let me know what you guys think. First of all, do you think that this is indeed what fully set on Al Thalman? From this point on, they're all going to be like, fuck Solomon. Also, what the hell happened to Solomon at the end? He's old, but then you see his young Rook going away. So is he still alive? Did Sheba completely lose him? Does she not know that he's right there? What the fuck is going on? Ultimately, is this the true birth of Solomon's wisdom? Because now he's become one with the great flow. And just your overall thoughts, any predictions, anything that you wanted to point out that you felt was relevant? Because as of right now, Magi greatness, bro. But that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, you can do so as well. That'd be awesome. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.